it's Monday morning and I'm here at Stamford Bridge, a day ahead of the big Champions League game against Cluj. Now, maybe well over 24 hours before kick-off, but already preparations have begun to make sure this event runs smoothly. Over the next 2 days, I'm going to be going behind the scenes to find out exactly what measures are taken to make sure this is a big night to remember. One fact that may be a surprise is that for Champions League games, the stadium is not controlled by the club. The keys are handed over to the Champions League governing body, UEFA, and I went along to meet their media officer to find out why.
The reason behind it is to have a consistency in the concept. It should look or feel like the Champions League night wherever you are, regardless if you're in Istanbul or at Stamford Bridge. It's completely transformed from a regular stadium everywhere, and tier dressing, new advertising boards, new signage around, everything like that makes it look like a Champions League venue, and that's why we're taking over actually already 3 days before the match, bringing in a signage crew, transforming the stadium in terms of how it looks.
So Hans and UEFA coordinate the stadium's slow transformation with the help of a team of contractors. What's the biggest job, or maybe the hardest job, the most specialist job that you guys have to do?
Specialist job, I would say, is the pitch. The pitch has to be absolutely spot on. It's 9 people, split them up all over the stadium, and we spend 3 days just changing it around to Champions League. We change over, cover up all the boards in the ground, which is the seat cover-ups, the tier dressing.
The detail is frightening. Before kick-off, a camera above the tunnel takes a high-definition image of the entire stadium to ensure everything looks picture perfect. When a metal nail is screwed into a dark blue sign, even the nail head has to be painted so that television viewers see a seamless banner. At the back of the stadium lies the outside broadcast or OB area. I went along to find out how this collection of trucks and cables managed to beam the match live across the globe.
It starts really when the director tells me how many cameras he wants on site, and then we progress from there. I generally look after the world feed, and then we have another unit manager who will look after the domestic, and he'll look after all those issues. But it starts about 2 weeks before the game in earnest, sorting out how we park the trucks and how we feed all the cameras. The total crew is in the region of 80. They started at 5 this morning. We'll finish about 6 o'clock tonight. We'll be in at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll be away about 1 o'clock in the morning. The truck immediately behind me is what we call a tape truck, which has the EVSs in, and it's basically all the recording formats. The one next to it is the domestic truck, which will just do ITV1 and ITV4, and then the one immediately next to that is the world feed truck, which does the 17 cameras feeding everybody who's taking it. And then there's specialist camera trucks, outgoing circuit trucks, got 2 generators and 2 support vehicles carrying all the camera kit and all the technical stuff.
But it's not just the broadcasters who need to prepare for the game, so too do the world's press. Team marketing, who work alongside UEFA, prepare all the press packs and accreditation for the game.
Nowadays it's prepared in Switzerland, in the headquarters of UEFA, with the UEFA.com editorial team, either in Switzerland or in London, where we also have a London office, with people, journalists working on getting all the statistics, all the facts, all the changes, all the interesting things that you need to know before the match. I receive it in the morning, put it into press packs for all the media to have when they arrive.
Well, here we are in the press conference room, and it may be quiet now, but in a couple of hours' time, the world's media will descend upon this room to put their questions to Luis Felipe Scolari and a player. Now, this always happens the day before the Champions League game, and it's a crucial part of the build-up to the big match. Everyone looks for the best spots, but the host broadcaster, in this case ITV, always takes centre stage. Once the journalists have the nuts and bolts to work with, it's straight outside for the training session, the first 15 minutes of which are open to the press. The session gives all broadcasters and photographers an opportunity for the most up-to-date shots of a player. It's here where you'll find the great and the good of football as they prepare for the big game. Well, obviously a crucial part of the game is the commentary, and I'm with ITV's Peter Drury, who'll be talking us through the game. So tell us how you prepare for a match of such great consequence.
It's more or less a week-long process. leading up to the game, which involves looking at videos, learning, of course, a lot about the opponents, particularly when they're less well known as Cluj are, and researching all the players, the history of the club, all that sort of thing, as well, of course, as being on top of all the issues relating to the home team. It intensifies into the last 48 hours or so when you start to attend press conferences and watch a bit of training and find out who's fit and who's not fit and what the team might be and what the whispers are and all of that sort of thing, culminating hopefully in the moment when you open your mouth a few moments before kick-off and make some sense and try and articulate the game.
How much of that the opening line do you prepare?
It varies actually. It does vary depending actually on programme times, you know, how many minutes or seconds or whatever you have to fill before the game kicks off, because very obviously you can't script the game, you just say what you see. But I suppose there's an extent to which the minute or so before kick-off is a bit of a set piece. You know what you're going to see, you know what the close-ups are going to be, and you're prepared with some words for those. But essentially it's best to stay fairly loose, because you have to be ready for the unexpected. How
difficult do you find it to remain impartial, obviously, when you have an English team against a Romanian team and you're speaking to an English audience?
It's not hard, actually. You just pull yourself out of it emotionally. And actually, where a bit of partiality is involved, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, if you're dealing with a Premier League game or a domestic game, you absolutely mustn't be favouring either side. But we are dealing with an English club and an English audience, and although I know things have moved on a bit, and no doubt there are Spurs and Chelsea and Arsenal fans who probably want Chelsea to fail tomorrow, I still go with the old-fashioned notion that on the whole an English audience wants the English club to win.
Well, as you can see, training is going on behind me. It's the last important event of the day. So the pitch is ready, the stadium is dressed, and the press have got everything they need. All that remains now is tomorrow and match day. Fans start arriving early to soak up the atmosphere of a big European night. As the crowds gather, our security team are on high alert.
We have 101 cameras looking over all of the sites of Chelsea Football Club. If we find anyone that's trying to get through an area where they're not meant to, we'll zoom in, find out who they are.
You have cameras that go all the way down to Fulham Broadway. Why is it so important to have access to the Fulham Road as well as Chelsea Football Club at Stamford Bridge?
Well, sometimes during the match we'll get an alert of ticket touts, so we know where to zoom in on and to get a picture of who they are and what they look like. So then we can do a printout on it and circulate it within the team. So if we do see them on site, we can eject it. Plus, it's not only used for that; it's used for people that get pickpocket, any theft, or just trouble.
What do you do here to ensure that the fans feel safe on a match day?
Well, we have guards placed on Stamford Gate, Bovril Gate and main entrance, wearing high vis, so people can see that they're there, they can be approached and answer their queries. Sniffer dogs are used primarily for people that come in with large bags. The dogs are trained to sniff out drugs or bombs. So we politely ask the people just to place the bags in front of the dog so the dog can work around the bag and they can go on their merry way. We just make sure that when they come on site they can enjoy themselves, have a good time and know that they're in a safe environment.
Well, there's just a few hours to go now until kick-off, and I'm back here in the outside broadcast area. Of course, for those fans not lucky enough to be inside the stadium to watch this game, they'll be watching from their televisions, and it's this area that makes that happen. Each truck is responsible for a different aspect of the broadcast. I spoke to the graphics coordinator to find out their role on the night.
There's a number of things that we do for a Champions League night. At Chelsea here we're doing not only the graphics, which is obviously the main thing that we're doing, but we're doing a scoreboard feed, a hospitality feed, and then we're providing commentators with the information systems and collecting all the data from the game. The graphics itself, which is basically the main function, is for this match day reasonably simple because it's one multilateral feed that goes out worldwide. The data has to be very quick. There's obviously coming from here, it goes to our central results system in Turin, and they'll be processing data from all 8 venues tonight,
This graphics hut, there's how many people and what exactly are you doing in the last few hours before kickoff?
Sure, during the match there'll be two of us there. There'll be myself supervising and Tom operating, who will have direct communication with the match director. Then we have a team of 3 up in the commentary positions in the stadium. 2 of them are looking after the player tracking, which involves setting up and monitoring 8 individual cameras, and we have our main data spotter who will be taking in the sort of corners, the shots and goal and the rest of it. It's been a reasonably challenging match day this match day, because we basically absolutely need an ADSL connection, because we're sending all of our data, as I said before, back to our main headquarters in Turin. So we need a very high-speed data link, and we've had some problems getting hold of that this match day. But ITV, the host broadcaster here, have been exceptionally helpful and have managed to provide us with one. Hopefully, it should all be very smooth, and Chelsea will win and go through.
So the fans are here, the players are ready. It's time for kickoff.
Terry shot down, this is Kalou who scores, and Kalou was on hand to sweep it into an unguarded net practically to give Chelsea the lead.
Well, as you can see, it's half time. It was a tense first half, but Kalou broke the deadlock. Now, we were lucky enough to watch the first half inside the stadium, but now we're going to see how it's beamed onto your television screens. We're going to go inside here where they're broadcasting live to ITV1. Well, before we get into the second half match action, they're actually showing the match highlights of the first half right now. Beside me is the director, who's cutting between the 17 match cameras, and beside him is the vision mixer.
And this is Kalou who scores, and the referee...
Each of these small screens represents a different camera. The director is able to make sure the shot is ready before he takes it live. It was a tense game. Thankfully, Didier Drogba came off the bench to win the game, sending us through to face Claudio Ranieri's Juventus. After the post-match press conference and interviews, the players are led out to the scrum of journalists known as the mix zone. Under UEFA regulations, players that have taken some part in the game must walk through this area, though there's no obligation for them to stop and chat. However, journalists will use every trick in the book to ensure they get a quote. Our very own Neil Barnett always makes sure he gets top spot for Chelsea TV. So Chelsea through to the last 16, so we can all breathe a sigh of relief. And it's not just the players who have work to do in the knockout stages. As we've seen, there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes. And I think just like the players, everyone involved now deserves a well-earned rest.